Now, somebody who was making some recommendations to the Chancellor before the budget came out were the team who work at the Growth Commission. Well, a former Growth Commission co-chairman is Douglas McWIlliams. He wrote he was the lead author, not the only author, but the lead author in a recent published growth budget. To what extent, if we compare your recommendations with what actually happened Wednesday afternoon, what are the differences, Douglas? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, the differences are virtually everything.
Okay.
We reckon that the Chancellor should have put public spending under control. She should have been pushing for greater productivity. We reckon that she should hold taxes down and when money became available, reduce them. And instead, she's done the opposite. And we estimate that the damage that she's done is going to take 3 percentage points of GDP growth.
Well, it's interesting that the trend, I think, and we got some numbers for the next 5 or 6 years, didn't we? It's around about 1.4. The government, I heard them defending that as saying, well, OK, it's not sort of crack out the champagne, but at least it's steady growth.
Well, steady in the sense that the numbers are a flat line. But whether we will actually manage to achieve a flat line is one thing. Also, these are numbers based on really optimistic assumptions. They're assuming that the money that goes into the public sector, all of it gets spent wisely, rather than being blown on further loss of productivity and on higher pay. It also makes quite optimistic assumptions about how entrepreneurs react to the tax changes that were announced. Because if they react seriously negatively, and some of them sort of multiply one thing on top of another, for example, the national insurance hike is on top of a huge hike in the minimum wage. The CGT, capital gains tax rise, is matched with a further rise in inheritance tax. These all tax the same thing. If that turns out to have a bigger effect, as we think, than the relatively minor effect that the OBR is predicting, then she's in real trouble.
All right, but we're talking about unknowns at this stage. To what extent do you think the argument they've laid out that, I mean, the wisdom or otherwise, of boxing themselves in by saying we're not going to touch income tax or VAT or national insurance payments, which they then refined to be for individuals, they didn't have much other lever to play with if they needed to raise the money to try and balance the books. Do you at least acknowledge that?
No, they didn't need to raise the money. That's the problem.
Oh, well, how would you have balanced the books? They're claiming, aren't they? They have this in-year deficit of 22 billion. Well, any economist has got to try and address that some way, shape or form.
I mean, I think the OBR has shown that that actually was not the case. But in addition, they've decided to go and spend another 70 billion pounds, that's 3% of GDP, on public spending that was not previously there.
Well, a lot of that's investment money, isn't it?
No, a third of it's investment money.
Well, that's
and
a
when
lot
they
of
say
it.
investment, that's not real investment. This is government investment. This is money that, it's HS2, it's things like that. Will they ever really deliver? What will they produce? Some of it's for Ed Miliband's windmills. Again, will they produce? They'll probably reduce GDP, not boost GDP. I mean, when they talk about investment, they mean government investment. Even the OBR, and they are rather fans of Chancellor, even the OBR has said that private investment, which is the investment that yields a real return because it's been tested in the market, is going to be cut by this budget.